Hey, y'all, happy Thursday. We're almost at the end of the week. And tonight, I have somebody local on my show. And what I posted about this the other day when I shared that you were going to be on here, Shawn, um, that, people think everybody in small communities, everybody knows everybody. I didn't know Shawn at all. We'd never met, we'd never seen each other. You probably didn't know about me.
Right.
And the reason I'm saying that to y'all is that regardless of whether you live in a big city or a small town, take the time to get to know the people in your community because you never know who might be just around the corner from you and is really interesting. But so just a little bit about Shawn. He owns a company called Press for Time Tees and he creates custom t-shirts, but he also has a podcast where he has people on to talk about like the struggles that they've overcome and, how they made it through and basically redemption, right? So, Shawn, I'm going to let you give your background and tell more about how you got to where you are.
Thank you, Lisa. First and foremost, thanks for having me on. Of course, my name is Shawn Barksdale, and just briefly a little bit about myself. My father um, is a military vet
Oh,
himself,
okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
Military vet himself. We moved around because of situations. He ended up getting hooked on drugs, and
Okay.
he ended up being incarcerated, and me and my mother ended up moving back to Virginia, and here uh being raised by my grandparents, and I had the pleasure of meeting my great grandparents and being raised by them
Oh,
for,
that's awesome.
oh, I mean, awesome, just awesome, that type of knowledge and that type of love. And
Mhm.
you know they 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 taught me how to nurture, and how to be nurtured and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when because my father wasn't there, my my grandfather, they stepped in and took that place, right?
Mhm.
And when my great grandfather passed away, it was a void for me. You
Yeah.
It was, and when you're young, because he was like 10 when uh he passed. I was like 10 when he passed away.
Uh-huh.
I really, when you had that type of void and you're that young, you don't know what's going on. So
Right.
have different resentments. You don't know why your father's not really there and why this person has passed away, so on and so forth. So
Mhm.
in my as I started going into my adolescent years and my teenage years, I just started moving along with the wrong people, so on and so forth. And it
Mhm.
kind of just snowballed, a snowball effect, and just getting in trouble here or there. But I had what they said, charisma. I was a good person, and
Yeah.
people liked me. I just was, as I was just doing some knucklehead stuff, right?
Yeah, and misdirected.
Yes,
Misdirected and hanging around with the wrong people.
absolutely.
Yeah, I got it.
Right. And I ended up in a very bad situation that landed me in prison
Oh
for,
gosh.
yeah, for almost 15 years.
Wow.
And I will say this, I didn't know. I knew what a goal was, Lisa,
Mhm.
but I didn't know how to obtain one, right?
Yeah.
And so when they gave me all this time, I had a newborn daughter that was coming, right?
Yeah, because you found that out right before you went to
Yeah,
prison, right?
I mean, right before, so here is all of this stuff that's throwing me. I have my first child. I'm going
Mhm.
to prison. I'm an only child myself,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Only child myself. And I'm like, yo, what is going on? And I remember sitting on my floor in my cell, and I just started writing goals out, right? And I just was like, okay, I didn't have any education, and that's real big, and that's something. Education is a big part, and it doesn't have to be a formal education, you know.
Yeah.
So whether it's a trade or whatever it is, but education is very important, which we may get into. But I just started. I wrote down. I want to get my GED. I want to be a good father. I want to do this. I want to go take college courses. I want to learn about business. I want to, I just wrote a whole bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I just said, okay, well, how you going to do it? And like I said, okay, well, just today, I'm going to work on going to school, right?
Uh-huh.
Don't know about tomorrow, but I'm going to do it today.
Yeah.
Went, I went, I went that day, I went the next day, I went the next day, I went the next day. Next thing I know, it was a week going by, and then a month. And then the next thing I know, I had a GED. And that was a goal that was obtained. And I was like, oh, wow. So I'm still young, right? Because I was 23 when I went to prison.
Mhm.
But my mind is starting to change. Like,
Yeah.
lining my mind and my heart up together. Because
Mhm.
now I see, okay, I can accomplish something, and it doesn't have to be something bad,
Yeah.
right? So, right,
Yeah.
so I got the GED, and then I started taking trades, right? I got commercial cleaning, and I got AutoCAD, and started taking college courses, and I started being a tutor in the education department, because I
Oh.
always wanted to. I realized, and this is what I tell younger people that I mentor now,
Uh-huh.
um, that if you have a base, I had a base to get back to because of my great grandparents and my grandparents,
Yes. Yes.
base to get back to. So I knew, okay, I have manners, I have morale, I have these things. I just have to pull back into those things. And
Yeah.
that started doing, and line myself up. And time went by, I was very blessed to have parents that would come see me. My
Oh,
mother,
yeah.
phenomenal woman, and she was bringing my daughter, right? And so my daughter was able to, which if you hear on the podcast, she was the first guest on
Yeah.
the,
I saw that.
right. And she was just explaining, because those are questions I had never asked, right? We had never
Uh-huh.
through any of those things. So excuse me, I gained this camaraderie in this relationship with her. And so the right 4 years before I came home, uh, I took a trade, which was graphic communication, where I learned to run offset printing presses, right?
Okay.
Learned
Uh-huh.
how to, Photoshop and InDesign, a little coding and things.
Uh-huh.
And that, out of all the trades that I took, that was the one that fascinated me the most.
Yeah.
So it's time to come home. Everybody's counting on me, everybody, because I'm a totally different person now, right?
Mhm.
And so I come home, and I worked at Burger King first. And
Oh,
this,
did you?
I started working at Burger King first. Lisa, listen, I worked at Burger King like I worked at a five-star restaurant,
Good
right?
for you.
I did,
Yeah.
I did. Uh, you know, but in 30 days, I was opening and closing Burger King.
Oh my
Right?
gosh.
Yeah. I actually, one of the classes that I took was Serve Safe, which allowed us to know the different temperatures, when to change things out. I was doing so well that they wanted me to manage another store. This
That's amazing, Shawn.
30 days out. But, and I'm sure Mr. Mickey Thomas, right?
Yeah, yeah, I do know Mickey.
Mickey is a great guy. So George that was working there, he was getting ready to retire in 20 years. He had been there 20 years.
Uh-huh.
I knew how to run printing presses. That's what I love. So I went to work. I put in an application. They said, well, he's going to be leaving. So, in between that time, we'll let you know when you can start training. That's when I started working at Burger King. And I told them, I said, as much as I would love to, I already have a job lined up. And so I did. Even though I had that job lined up, I act like I didn't. And I really had a great, because I learned, I grew up on a farm.
Yeah, yeah. You know
Right?
what hard work is.
I knew how to pull tobacco. I
Yep.
knew how to drive tractors and, you know, fish and hunting, all of these things. So I had a great work ethic. I already had a great work ethic, because even when you're in prison and you're working for 27 and 35 cents and 45 cents, I still made sure the mindset, because it's a mindset. I never was trapped in there. My mind was free, right?
That's so this
Yeah,
is amazing.
my mind was free, and I made sure that my mind was free. My body was there, but I read so many books, and so many things, right? So when I got into Benton and Thomas, I flourished because I knew it.
Did
And
you know Mickey before you?
no,
So how did you and so people that don't know him, this is just me personally. How did you find out about the job, or did you just be like, "Oh, I want to try to work at a place like that," and you just went by there?
I I asked when I got here, I was like, "Where is it a print shop in
Mhm.
town?" They were like, Benton and Thomas." I
Yeah,
went by there, and Pat gave me an application, but
mhm.
I went to Ameristaff, right? And
Yeah.
when I go to Ameristaff, it was funny because I pull out all of these trade certificates and all of these things. So the lady there, she's like, "Wait a minute, you know how to run one of these machines?" I was like, she's like, "This is amazing because Benton and Thomas is looking for a guy that can do this."
That's awesome.
Think I was gonna find anybody. I was like, "Really?" So they put me there, and
Okay.
yeah, Mickey automatically, he was like, "This is our guy." You know,
Yeah.
like I said, I flourished there, and this is a funny story. Barry Long was working there at the
Yeah,
time.
I know Barry.
Barry, great guy too.
Yeah.
So me and Barry, he's my supervisor.
Uh-huh.
So Barry comes back there one day. He says, "Hey man, we're doing spring cleaning. Everything that we don't need back here, we're gonna get rid of it." I was like, "Okay, cool." So it's a machine that's sitting in the corner, right? Now the school has shut down. The high school has shut down their printing program. So
Okay.
they donated to Mickey, right?
Uh-huh.
And them, right? So it's just this machine been sitting there. I don't know what it is, never asked. So I said, "Barry, what is that?" He said, "It's a t-shirt making machine." I said, "Well, what you mean?" He said, "You press images on t-shirts." I said, "Well, how much you want for it?" He said, "Take it." I said, "Take it where?" He said, "Take it home." Lisa, before he could leave, I got this. Now this press is heavy. I got it. I'm going to the car. I put it in the trunk, right?
You're
So
like, I got to get this thing out of here before they change their mind.
because I'm like, I don't know what it is or what it does,
Yeah,
but
but you're gonna figure it out. Yeah.
figure it out. I go home. I'm in the bed with my wife that night. I go on YouTube and I put in t-shirt. I didn't even know it was called a heat press. I
Oh.
put, I put in t-shirt making machine, right?
Okay.
And one of the images that come up is the one that I have there.
Uh-huh.
I hit the video. I'm looking at the video, and when I see him making the t-shirt, I look at my wife. I said, "They gave me a gold mine."
Oh my God. Yeah.
So once
The
again,
hair standing up on my arm.
listen, once again, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I got up at probably maybe a week later. I
Uh-huh.
got up about 4:30 in the morning. I got me a pad, I got me a pen, and I wrote down a business plan. I,
Okay.
okay, what are you gonna call it? The business. Who's gonna help you start the business? I didn't know nothing about LLCs. I didn't know nothing about secret. Nothing, right? So I just started studying and reaching out to people. And what is this? And what is this? And what I found was when you try to help yourself, people help you.
That's so true. It
When you
is
try to
so
help people,
true. Yeah.
I know that there are good people in the world. There are very good people in the world. You just have to connect to those people.
Exactly.
That's all
Yeah.
it is. You just have to, when you move around in certain circles, and this is what I was telling you and Ryan the other day, was that I really saw what success looked like in those increments, right?
Yeah.
Hey, this person connected me to this person. This door opened. So I found out, okay, I'm gonna go with an LLC. I connected to this. I did this. I learned about this machine. All right, I'm gonna need this type of material, so on and so forth, and trial and error. And I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know any. All I knew was I knew how to talk. That's all I knew. How to talk.
Yeah.
And people were fascinated that knew me in town. They was like, "Hold on, if Shawn Barksdale," so they just started like they was marvel not so much at the designs at the time because I didn't really know what I was doing, but
Yeah.
it was more so I was the brand.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, look what Shawn is doing
Right,
after all these years.
more than the t-shirts.
So let me ask you, did you have any local people here that knew you before that when you came back, you felt like they were like, that's just Shawn. He ain't never going to do anything.
Just a matter
Because,
of time.
yeah,
It
I
was
had
just
this conversation.
it was just like that. It was hey man, it's just a matter of time before he goes back to,
Yeah.
or he does. And that's my fuel even now.
Yeah.
Even now, it's like it's the level.
You're gonna prove them wrong.
It's the level up. You
Yeah,
know,
and the thing is, I want you to know though that even though that was your situation, it's like that with everybody. I literally just had this conversation yesterday with a woman who has a master's degree, and you know, it's like, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. Like that whole thing of familiarity breeds contempt. And it's like when people think they know you, oh, you must not be that great if I know. You know what I'm saying? Well,
right,
why are you here if you're so great? I'm
right.
like, well, why are you here? But anyway, that's why I was curious. So there you had a mix. Some people are like, yeah, we'll give him time. He's gonna fall on his face. And other people are just like, this is so cool.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it just it's beautiful to me because I've inspired a lot of people. Now a lot
Yeah.
they may not say, but a lot of people started doing t-shirts because for one they was like, well, if Shawn doing it is easy, you
Yeah.
know. This dude ain't gonna do nothing too hard, you know, for what he do, right? And then, but you know, once they started singing and they was like, wow. And a lot of people just started connecting to me and saying, man, you don't know what you did for me,
Yeah.
you know, just that story in itself. And I just kept going and going and going, and that's how I even arrived at the podcast. I was like, okay. And this is how, like, last year COVID rocked everybody.
Yeah.
I learned. I went down to 2019. I went to Charlotte. Right. I went to a trade show in Charlotte, and I took a class on how to print on the spot. Right, live.
Okay, yeah, yeah, on demand, yeah.
And right there on the spot. And I started doing events. Matter of fact, I have next week. I have a boxing event that
Oh, cool.
and at in South Carolina. So I started vending, and I mean, because now my business is press for time tees. So
Uh-huh.
everybody knows me when it's dealing with time. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't put it out there. You know, I told y'all I'm the fastest, you know, printing company in the universe, and you know, so people
Wow.
gonna try you, you know. And so last year, it rocked the nation, it rocked the world, and
Yeah.
I had to do a lot of memorial T-shirts. And so I'm very close to my clients. You know, they're not just clients, we're like family. I tell
Yeah.
people I don't make T-shirts, I make memories.
Yeah.
Right. So I started talking to clients because here it is. You become, like I said, once I started studying you guys for the podcast, I was just so fascinated. But that's how I would do with clients. They would bring me, they'll say, well, listen, we want some memorial teas. My grandmother passed away from COVID. My father passed away. And I started asking about, you know, who was this person? Or
Yeah, who were they? Yeah, not
right.
just
And
a
so
picture.
everybody had a story.
Mhm.
Everybody had a story, you know, whether good, bad, it's, you know. And so I said, as I'm talking to them, I'm like, people need to hear this. People
Yeah.
get just, you know, everyday stories, you know, of how to overcome, of how to get through and, you know, deal with trauma and deal with, you know, issues. So I said, well, maybe I should do a podcast, you know. And I had studied them. I love podcasts. I'm always driving,
That's
delivering.
how I am.
Right, you know, delivering. So I listen to, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you know, I'm like all of these different podcasts that I listen to. And I said, well, I think maybe I should do a podcast and, you know, help people get their message out, get their, you know, spread their word out,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. And we launched yesterday was 2 months. And you know, I'm always down to put the work in. You know,
Yeah.
me and the crew, I think after you guys, we have 32 episodes done.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 32 episodes done. And it's just really refreshing because it leads me to great people like you guys, man. So
Yeah, I'm so excited. Ryan and I both are so excited to meet you.
yes, definitely, definitely.
I just love your story. And I told you, I think before we came on, that I was stalking your Facebook page because I wanted to,
Yeah, Absolutely.
learn more about you. I knew a little bit, but I wanted to learn more about you. So I went all the way back to the beginning of your Facebook
Oh,
page,
beautiful.
and
That's
saw
beautiful.
pictures of you when you were still incarcerated, saw pictures of your daughter, who,
Right.
by the way, y'all, his daughter is now in college at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University,
Back there studying right now, right now.
with a 3.5 GPA,
Yes,
right?
yes,
What's
yes.
she studying? Her major?
She's going to be a dental hygienist.
Oh, good for her.
And
Well, so, I went all the way back, and of course you didn't have your Facebook account then, I don't guess, but it was like pictures from all the way back.
right,
And I love how you you put out such a great positive message to people, and you're like, we can do this. And for anybody, but also specifically for the Black community. And you talk about needing, and anybody needs this, but needing a mother, needing a father, and needing a support network. But I also love how you talk specifically to the Black community about, look, we have power.
right,
And you know what? One of your posts, you're so right that you're like, we're the ones that come up with all the ideas, and then the other people make
right,
the money, and it's like music style, everything. That's how it's always been,
right.
and so I love that you have this empowering message that you give people, but I also love how you don't sugarcoat it.
Right.
You don't try to hide the
But
bad stuff.
not to cut you off,
Yeah.
my mother's best friend, her name was Lynn Wilburn. She got married while I was incarcerated. It's a Caucasian lady. She's like my second mother.
Uh-huh.
She just passed away last week. I mean, this is my
You
mother.
live here?
Yeah, she lived here. My mother lives on Hyco. She lived on Cherry Hill Church Road.
Okay.
And the reason I bring her up is because I've never been a racist person, right? I've
Yeah.
never been a person that hated other cultures, because in prison you learn every culture.
Yeah, that was one of your posts. It was about
Right,
learning diplomacy.
right.
That was a really good post.
You have to, because it's like a fish tank,
Yeah.
right? Everybody, you know everything that is going on. So you you have to like have diplomacy. You have to say, okay, whether I believe this or I don't believe this, I have to respect it.
Yeah.
And most of the time, because of fear or the lack of knowledge or the lack of understanding, is what gives us fear.
That's right.
Oh no, I don't, so that we're stripped of all of that in prison, so because when they tell you, hey, pack your stuff up, you gotta go, it's no, I'm not going nowhere. You're gonna go,
You
so
don't have any choice. You're going.
I have no choice. So you learn these things, um, and that's what I love about humanity itself. And just, God just created all of these different races so that we would get to know one another, not
Yeah.
hate, but just get to know one another and the
Yeah.
in us, and connect with each other and see how we can add value to each other and help each other.
It makes us stronger, and I'm going to end up crying. I know I am. I
I'm always
cry easily anyway, but because it's just very touching. I'm like you. It's like, I don't care what race people are. I don't care religion or anything. To me, all the things that make us different are the things that make us stronger.
have to move this just a little bit, okay?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. To me, all the things that make us different are the things that make us stronger, Shawn.
It is.
And, and it makes life so much more interesting.
It is.
And it's like, I feel like almost all of us have way more in common than we have different,
Right.
but people have vested interests, and I don't want to get into politics and everything,
Right.
but whether it's politicians or whether it's marketing or anything,
Yes.
there are people that have or even a lot of nonprofits. There are people that, for whatever reason, have a vested interest in
Yes.
pointing out the differences.
Yes.
And sadly, if you're not around people who aren't like you, then that's what you're always going to believe.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you go. What'd you do? Turn your camera off?
Yeah.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
Oh.
There you go. Hold on. There you go. There you go.
But so that one post that you had on your Facebook about how you learned diplomacy in while you were incarcerated, and you listed all these, the Crips, the Bloods, the
Right.
white supremacists, the this, the that.
Right.
Y'all had to live together.
You
You didn't
had.
have a choice. It's not like you could move to this gated neighborhood.
I
You
was
know?
listen. I was saying this the other day. Now, of course, out here, I eat a whole lot differently than I ate in there, so I done got fat, right? So, but I was very, very much in shape. I used to run. That was my getaway.
Yeah.
Places that I was at, they had these huge tracks, right?
Yeah.
I used to run with a Jewish guy. He had been locked up 30 years. Right?
Wow.
We had some of the most in-depth conversations that were just not about religion. We talked about religion as well, but just about humanity and life and second chances.
That's
He's
all.
a guy in prison, right? And he told me, and I came across so many great, so many the ingenuitive and the creativity that you learn in prison, right?
Yeah.
And the individuals. That's why I do believe in second chances. And that's why I have a whole prison system on my back, because I had wardens, I had counselors, I had guards that said, Barksdale, if you don't make it, can't nobody make it. You're ready, right?
Yeah.
So I know, like right now, I have guys that email me from prison and call me, and I'm that beacon for them.
Yeah, you're that. Yeah.
Right. That
They know that if they can kind of count on you, you're their model. They can watch you
right.
and feel stronger, feel like they have a chance.
Right. And even when you look at the recidivism numbers now, they're lower now than they've ever been in Virginia, ever.
Oh, wow. That's great to know.
Know some individuals right now within this community and, throughout the state and the nation that have come home and doing excellent work. I mean, especially with the youth and even the elders, and giving back in charity, because like I said, once you line your mind and your heart up, you can be unstoppable, man, in anything that you do.
Yeah, I think you might have said it tonight, but I know you also said it on Facebook about your mind being free. Don't let your mind be your prison cell. It reminds me of a saying that my husband repeats that his dad said, and I'm sure some famous author or orator said it, but something to the fact of, a prisoner of war or somebody, and one person looks through the bars and they see or all they see are the bars.
Right.
And the other person looks at and sees the stars. And I'm sure I'm screwing it up, but that's the whole thing, the mindset.
It is. Let me tell you.
One thing that I think is so interesting about your story, I mean, there's so many things that are interesting, but kind of the common belief of everybody is once you're a felon, you can't get a job.
Right.
And so when I first learned about you, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I'm thinking, oh, he probably couldn't have gotten a job. And it's so cool that he started his own business and didn't take that inability to get a job as an excuse to not do something. But then it's like, no, you did have a job. You had 2 jobs.
I actually had 3. I actually had 3 jobs. I worked at Burger King before Benton Thomas. And then when I first started Benton Thomas, at night I would work for Ragsdale Cleaners because I had commercial cleaning. So So at night I would, and this is fresh out of prison, felon, worked in hospitals, worked in the clinics, cleaned up. And that's why I tell anybody, and I've met some extraordinary people that they said, oh, you're not going to be able to do this. And we push the envelope and said, no, because now we're not only staying out of trouble, but we're showing that we can run the community.
Yes.
But not just out here, we're actually making a difference in the community.
Yeah, you are growing the community. You're teaching other people. You're creating jobs. You're creating inspiration.
Right.
So what do you think the difference is? And I know this is getting off track from entrepreneurialism, but it's not, because it's the whole mindset thing. What do you think the difference is in why you were able to come out and have all these opportunities? And I know a lot of it's the education and your work ethic, But do you think the fact that we're a small community and people know each other more, do you think that might have helped? Or why do you think so many people come out and they can't get a job?
It's several factors, and that's a great question. One is the support system when they come home. I
Mhm.
had an exceptional support system. I mean,
Family and community.
yeah, I mean, but just family first, just my family.
Yeah.
Okay, for instance, I had I had about probably about 30, $40,000 worth of debt
Mm.
coming. Okay, it's
From legal expenses and stuff?
legal expenses
Yeah.
that nature that you how I'm gonna do this,
Yeah.
and I bartered things with my family, and and did different things with them to lighten that load, and they helped. So I had an extremely, and I still have such an extreme support system. So
Yeah.
that means a lot. That
Yeah.
does mean a lot. And it's 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 you being serious about you.
Yeah.
Because people, like you said, people try you. People, they came and like me personally, I don't drink or do drugs anymore, right? And because and I didn't start really learning who I was until I was about 32, 33.
You know what? Same here. I just said that the other night. I
About 30,
was
33,
incarcerated, but the same thing. We don't know
you don't
ourselves.
know, don't know. And this is why,
Yeah.
not to get off track about those second chance. I know guys that went to prison at 15 years old and they're 40 now.
Uh-huh.
15 years old, you can't think straight,
No.
So anyway, that support system is very important. And also it's how you view you, right?
Mhm.
Because you have to be strong enough when the turn downs come to say, well, no, you didn't get this job or you didn't get that job, and you don't went to 10 jobs, and you're like, man, I'm just gonna go back to what I know, right?
Yeah.
That's when the fortitude comes in and say, you know what? No, I'm not going to go back because that next job may be the one, or that next job may be the one. And you just keep going. And
And
if
you know what, Shawn? That is the same thing as what an entrepreneur has to do.
it is,
So that
it
mindset that
is
you have that helped you get that job, that helped you have those opportunities, it's also the same mindset as an entrepreneur because what people don't
call it cold calling.
yeah, the cold calling. I was going to say every no gets you closer to the yes,
Yep.
but it's so hard because people take a no as rejection.
Right.
I have a friend that owns a company called Go for No, and she books and all kinds of stuff that she and her partner do. They speak all over the country, and
Really?
their whole thing is about the mindset. Look at the no's as the good things, rack those suckers up,
Up,
Um,
up.
and there's the whole thing of okay, that one didn't, but maybe the next one, maybe the next one. And just the challenge. But there's so many people who just give up, whether it's getting a job after they're incarcerated, or whether it's anybody getting a job, or whether it's somebody who owns a business and they give up and they're frustrated, so they quit and they get a job. You
Right.
know, I don't care what you're doing in life, you have to start to understand yourself and be willing to take rejection and be willing to accept that pain to stretch and grow further.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right, because that's why I've done so well in my business is because of those rejections.
Yeah.
And because and you'll know yourself, as long as you've been in business, is that model in itself. You don't get successful from the success that comes later. You
Yeah.
get success from the failures, learning like,
Yeah.
oh, I did this when I should have did that. I remember my first big job. It was a trucking company, and I talked my way into getting the job. I messed the job up so much, I ended up paying for the job to get it done. But it was such a learning
You learned, you know what?
experience. So I made so
Whatever you had to pay, whatever you had to pay is
yep,
cheaper than if you'd had to pay for somebody to teach you that.
absolutely, absolutely. So, and this is what I tell. For instance, I have a young man. I spoke at a Rivermont challenge at risk youth school in
Uh-huh.
Chase City a couple of years ago before COVID. I have a young man. I went in, and these kids connected to me because they had never heard their story with the win. at the end.
Yeah, yeah, because you are their story. Yeah.
So these guys really connected to me. They connected to me through social media. I have now he's 14. His name is David, and he's autistic. He calls me the other day. We talk every week. He says, "Hey Shawn, guess what?" I said, "What?" He said, "I learned how to code." I was
Oh, that's
He's
awesome.
like, "I taught myself." Listen, he's built me a website, right? It's not a live page, but it brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah,
That is what it's all about. That's what it's all
it
about.
is.
You can make a difference in someone's life like that. You
Yeah,
know, anything and everything that you went through was for now. And was
yeah.
so I'm just privileged to be here.
Yeah, I was going to say I love your story, but that sounds so shallow because it isn't your story. It's the whole, just the texture, everything that you've gone through, even the bad things are the things that have made you who you are. And one of my things that I do is I work with successful entrepreneurs who are, for whatever reason, they want to make changes in their business.
Right.
It might be that they're really having issues financially. I've turned around companies that were facing bankruptcy and stuff, but it
Wow.
might just be somebody who's like, you know what? I have this great business and I'm really successful, but I hate my life. I'm miserable. I
Right.
want to figure. And so I love helping people figure out how they can make their business fit their life because Shawn, I don't most people when they start a business, they start it because they want to like be in control of their life.
Right.
They want to do their own thing and before they know it, they're doing it like everybody else is doing it. They're building their business like everybody else is doing. So they basically have a job,
Yep.
and they don't have anything that's reflective of them personally. Instead of making their business a reflection of themselves and what they like, what they don't like, what they're good at, what they're bad at, all those things and building the business around themselves. It's like they build this business
Right.
and they crunch themselves into it. And it's
Right.
if you're going to do that, you might as well have a job,
Right.
because you're not going to be happy. So I
Right.
love helping people figure out, you said you didn't understand yourself till you like 32. I'm the same way. And that's why I like to help people so much because it's like, I don't think most people even know what they like and don't like and what they're good at. And I will say on top of what is more important is the why.
Right.
If you're bad at it and if
Right.
you don't like it, why?
I ask people. I ask people this. I asked David this about the code. I said, David, let me ask you this. I said, could you do this the rest of your life and not make a dime for it and you still be happy? He said, yeah, man, I love it. I said, that's your purpose.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
you do. I
Yeah.
can make tea. Of course, we need money to live and
Yeah. Yeah.
have things. But for me, it's a passion, not just it's the interaction for me.
Yeah.
Because just like you said briefly, people don't know what they want. People text me or call me and say, "Hey man, I want some birthday shirts." I'll be like, "Okay, well, what kind of shirts or what do you want?" I really don't know. But then when you say, "Okay, let me put a design together," and you do that with a website and say, "Okay,
Yeah.
show you something," then they'll be like, "Oh, well, can I get this? Can I get
Yeah.
that?"
It gets those
Once
juices.
they
Yeah.
start to see something,
Yeah.
and I realized that in life because that's how I was. I
Yeah.
I realized at 38 years old that I like writing poetry. I had never wrote poetry in my life.
Oh, wow.
38 years old, the first time I ever wrote poetry, and it was just like, it's just a whole nother, atmosphere opened up for me. So you just don't know until you just keep going. You,
Yeah.
you know.
That's so cool. Well, I'm going to ask you live on my show but my next book is called Disrupt Your Now, The
Yes.
Successful Entrepreneur's Guide to Reimagining Your Business and Life. I want you to be in my book.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I want you to be in my book. I've got people in there from my coach who is, have you ever heard of the book Blue Fishing?
Yeah, I actually have.
Well, the author of that, Steve Sims, is my coach. So he's in it and he's writing the foreword. And I have people like Jeffrey Madoff, who is a friend of his, who is
Wow.
Like he's behind like the Ralph Lauren campaign for 30 some years and Victoria's Secret and stuff. And my cousin is my co-author.
Cry, Lisa. Don't
No, well, see, you already made me cry.
don't you make me
But
cry
I'm going to tell you why I want you in here. And so I've got like big name people, and my co-author is my cousin who's won an Emmy Award and has like, I don't remember how many gold and platinum records and all this. And, you know, all kinds of awards, lives in Manhattan. But Shawn, I've got people like that who everybody would look at and go, well, oh yeah, well, they've already done it. But I've also got people all the way down to 2 young women that started their business during COVID.
Right.
And one is Ryan's daughter. She had to because of her health. Right. She could not do the work she was doing because of her health issues. She could not take the risk of going out in public. So she started her business, and the other one was a young woman, a single mother of 2 that was tired of the crap.
Right.
She had taken a company from several $100,000 to several million as the marketing director, but she still wasn't good enough. You know, one of those things where no matter what, and she's like, screw this. So she quit without a job. She's like, okay, what am I going to do? Anyway, she wasn't planning on starting a business. So I've got people, I have this whole range of people because you never know who somebody else is going to connect with. Absolutely. And yeah, I want you in there because you have amazing lessons, but not just for people who have been incarcerated or people who may be underprivileged or people whose parent wasn't. You have valuable lessons for even the silver spoon people that are not happy in their life and they don't really know how to be happy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. I do. Like you said, we both listen to a lot of podcasts. Well, one of my great speakers is Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
Gary V. He's electrifying in his style. And I just feel like I'm just here to add value. I just want to add value that, I love to, I love speaking to children. I love speaking to because I've always been able to connect to people.
Yeah.
I've always been able to have empathy for people. And, I think that's very important to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Or, I don't have any brothers and sisters, but I've had people that lose their brothers and sisters, and I feel worse than they felt.
Yeah.
Because I think that's just a God-given thing to me to be to feel that and grow with that. So
that empathy.
Yeah, I'm just privileged. I'm just very privileged and thankful to be able to just be here. It's awesome to be. I mean, even I can't even wrap my head around what you just said yet.
Oh, we're gonna have fun though, and I've already got some other ideas for things for us to do together. My thing is, even though I've been doing this literally for 25 years, I've owned my business, and I know people who've been doing whatever for a lot less time, and they have way more money, so people would see them as being way more successful. But the reason I started my business, well, I used to be an accountant. My degree is in accounting. I was a CPA. Was really good at accounting, hated it. It like sucked my soul out. So, and I was actually the controller for an international software company when I discovered web design in 95. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome because I could use my business experience and, creativity and logic and all of that, but not be around boring, stuffy people, And so I literally ditched accounting totally, canceled my CPA license and all of that. And my whole life has been this. But obviously this was at the very beginning of the web in the bigger sense, the public.
Right.
But I saw this opens up the whole world. I could live anywhere. I could do anything. And that's why I love it so much. And sometimes I'll get down on myself. I'm like, oh my God, there are people that have been like in business like way less time than I have, and they have so much more successful if you gauge money as if money is the gauge of success. And then I'm like, but wait a minute. I raised 2 kids. I helped my husband and I were primary caregiver for his dad with Alzheimer's for 7 years in the home while we were raising 2 kids.
Right.
I homeschooled my kids for 2 years. I was able to come back to Virginia when my dad had leukemia, and come back and be with him. And so that, because even then, even though it was dial up, I'd figure out a way to get dial up, and moved back to Virginia from Florida to be closer to my mother. Thankfully, we did, because she ended up with Alzheimer's, and Tom and I took care of her for 4 years. So,
and let's not forget the trauma of what happened with your grandfather.
Yes, yeah.
That's big, because a lot of people can't come back. A lot of people don't come back, especially with, people that nurtured them, as we said, and that, presented them with a body of stuff.
Yeah.
Whether close or not, so for that to happen, and I don't know how old you were, but
I was 5. What he's talking about, y'all, if you don't know me, my grandfather killed himself when I was 5, and my grandmother tried to 3 years later.
Right.
So, and they lived right next door to us.
You understand? And because the reason I don't mean to bring that up.
No, that's fine. That's a great point that I didn't even think of.
Right, because seriously, because we're talking about on the podcast, these the last episode that's up now is on trauma. And not being able to recognize trauma. I know in the Black community, that just wasn't a word that we said.
Yeah. I love something that I read that you said about how Black people just don't talk about this stuff.
No, we just suppress it. We just push it down and keep going on. I have to be honest, whether it's my mother or or any of the Black women that I have encountered, that I know or that I don't know. These are some of the strongest women in the world, because of what they put on their backs, and they carry, and they don't tell, or they don't say. And this is women, period, and not just Black women. Now back to just women, period, of having that type of strength. And that's going back to you. That's you have to muster a different type of strength to carry on through certain things. So, I'm gonna give you your flowers while you're here too, because I didn't ask the question the other day. I'm gonna ask it now, because I think why do you say C-level? That you're a C-level,
like chief web officer. And the reason I say that is because I've been doing this forever, 25 years, before Google existed. And people can't comprehend that I've seen it all, I've done it all, and I don't care what apps come out, what tools, whatever. I'm putting it in the context of 25 years. So when people go, oh, so-and-so can make me a website,
right,
this, that, and the other, they're wonderful designers out there. They're great marketers.
Right.
They're great developers, but that doesn't mean that they can take the big picture.
Right.
Okay, they might know the best tool for right now. They might know, okay, Google just changed its search algorithm, so we got to go up. Those are tactics.
Right.
But so I look at it, I'm like, you don't get your bookkeeper to give you your big picture financial strategy. Most companies, even small ones, have a chief financial officer, or at the very least, they have an accountant. They don't have just somebody who's making, writing checks and stuff, telling them like their tax strategy, and their investment strategy and everything. So the reason I say C-level and I say outsourced chief web officer is to try to get people to understand there's a huge difference in being able to create a beautiful website, or know how to do all these email marketing campaigns, and know how to crush it in social media.
Right.
All those things are great, and you have to have them, but you have to be able to take it all and put it together in this big picture that's getting you to where you want to go.
Absolutely.
So that's why I say C-level, to help people understand, oh, I do have a CFO, or I am the CEO. Yeah. you
Right.
know, because it helps people. It's not like an ego thing for me. It's trying to communicate to them
Yes.
the difference in what I do and what other people, because they'll be like, oh, so and so can do social media. Oh, so and so email marketing. So and so, they can make a website, blah, 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 and it's like, that's great. There
Right.
are millions of people that can do that, but I'm the only one that can do
Right.
what I do. I'm
Listen,
the only one with my unique set of experiences.
you better believe it, because like I said, I like you, like Ryan, like Colin, like the whole our dream team. Um,
Uh-huh.
y'all do the work. I believe in putting in the work and
Yeah.
work. And so, like I said the other day, when I really started studying you guys, and like you, when I was like, yo, hold on, she here? Did she in this town? Like you, I mean, like, no, seriously though, because you're phenomenal at what
Well, thank you.
you're phenomenal at what you do and how you do it and your skill set. So yeah.
Thank you. I
And then
appreciate.
I started asking people, and they was like, oh no, Lisa is different. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, Lisa, she know her stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
yeah.
that's nice to know that people know it, because I'm going to tell people out there, entrepreneurs, I am awesome at helping other people. I suck at helping myself. And I think most of us are like that. And
It,
I'll get really down on myself, and I'll have to take a step back. And I'm like, well, yeah, they might be like crushing it money wise. So and so their business it might be newer than mine. They might be making a lot more money, but they don't have the tapestry of life that I have. They didn't have the blessing to care for a mother and a father-in-law to
right,
usher them to the next side. They
right,
didn't have two children that they prioritized over their business, and I have to remind myself, that's why I started my business. I didn't start the business for money. I started the business so that I could live my life like I wanted to live
mm,
it. Now, ironically, right when my kids, they're only 20 months apart. So right when they both left home, I told my husband, now it's my time.
right,
Now it's my time to concentrate on myself, concentrate on my business, and build something for my retirement,
right, right,
And I mean, I'll be honest, I can't imagine myself ever not working, but you never know what'll happen that you won't be able to work as much. And you don't want to have to. You want to get to a certain point in life that you're still doing what you love, but you know that you can eat it, if you can't do it.
right,
And it was literally right after that my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And so you don't ever know what life's going to bring you. But
right,
there again, I could have said, oh, we can't deal with it. I got to do this. We got to put her in a home, yada, yada, yada. But instead, I moved in with her, and my husband stayed in our house. It's like 3 miles apart. And I lived with her for 4 years, and he lived in our house. And between the two of us, we were able to care for her until she passed away. And, but I have to tell you that some of my hardest business lessons I learned at that time. And we were talking earlier about failure, and
mm,
failure is what you learn from. And I made a really poor hiring decision.
mm,
Um, but that's on me. I made the decision, and it was not a good decision, and it literally almost bankrupted me.
wow,
And the last 6 months of my mother's life, I spent saving my business.
right,
But I have to say, Shawn, part of the reason that I made that decision is the same thing I was talking about earlier, where people look at other businesses and they go, oh, this is what so and so's doing, so I got to do it.
right,
Um, so I had employees, I had several employees, but I started going, oh, if I'm not going to be around as much, I need somebody to
yep,
be kind of there.
yep,
So instead of me doing what I do for my clients, with my clients, I would go, wait a minute, okay, what are your goals? What can you get rid of? What are your most profitable offerings and the things that you enjoy the most? What are the things that you're only offering because you feel like you have to, and let's get rid of all that, automate as much stuff as we can. If I had done all that, I
right,
would have had to work so much less than I did during those 4 years. And I wouldn't have spent the last 6 months of my mother's life
right.
with that hanging over me. But
Right.
like I said, I take 100% responsibility. I'm the one that made the decision.
Right.
And, it's not even the person's fault that I hired. It was a bad decision. It wasn't the right match. But I was trying to make myself, I don't like managing people.
Right.
So I was like, they're going to do it. And then once, once I hire them, they're going to manage it. And I
Right.
thought because I don't like managing people and I was trying to force myself to let go, some of the things that I questioned, I was like, oh, that's just me, being like over, like, I got to stay out of it. I don't know if that makes sense or not,
It does. It does. It does.
but it's sad because it caused a lot of sorrow in our lives, and financially was really very hard on us. But I would have never not taken care of my mother. That
Right.
is what I wanted to do.
Right.
So I got to do that. And I got to learn the hard lesson of, hello, treat your own business like you treat your clients' businesses.
That's the key, because pain causes change.
Yeah.
Right? Pain causes change. That's what changed me. Pain.
Yeah.
Right? It changes you. So here it is. You get a double dose. Right? You have to deal with this with your mother. That's pain.
Yeah.
Person who you came from. This is the person who knew you before you knew yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And then on top of that, your business, you get another type of pain. So you got both of these coming at you like two, like a train wreck. So what happens is, and this is where the breakthroughs come in, and
Mhm.
like, for myself, because at the time you like, I can't, I don't, I want to leave here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
honestly, you like, I can't, I don't know how. But when you don't, the old cliche, what don't kill you make you strong. But it's true.
It is true. Yeah.
Because go through it. If you live through it, now you can look back and you have those moments and memories, with your mother, but
Yeah.
you learn to say, okay, I know what not to do for myself or my clients any longer.
Right.
So you learned. You really
Yeah. And actually, that's why I ended up writing my book, Boomer Cash Out, partly
right,
why I did,
right,
because for years I've been telling people these are the kind of things that you need to do. And people are like, yeah, whatever. They don't really understand the big picture. And so I was like, you know what? If I write it in a book, maybe they'll pay attention. So
right.
basically, I took everything in my head that I would usually try to get a client to understand, and I just wrote the book. I wrote it in a weekend. I sat
Really?
and wrote it, yeah. And
Wow.
about and it's like, and it's not how to do stuff; it's why you need to do it. It's
Right,
like, here's the background of the web. Here's the hello. If you want a younger person to buy a business, you can't expect to sell them the kind of business that you could have sold 20 years ago,
right,
because a younger person now expects all these things to be in place. Number
right,
one. Number two, you speak a different language. They're digital natives. You're a digital immigrant. You don't even speak the same language. You
right.
need to have that bridge. I'm like that translator, that helps bridge that communication. So stuff like that. And I do talk about specific apps in it, but it's not so much how to use them. It's more, because the audience for this book is older people, it's more, these are the kind of things that you could and should be doing.
Right, right.
With the book now, Disrupt Your Now, I mean, it's really, I'm writing it for successful entrepreneurs who want to make a change. But
Yeah.
the type people that are always like, one day, someday, 5 years from now. No, do it now,
Do
because
it
you
now.
don't know. That's why I call it Disrupt Your Now. That's the target market, but it really could be for anybody, even if they're not even an entrepreneur. Because if you have a job that you hate, you need to figure out
Right.
why you hate it and what you can do to make it better.
Absolutely.
I have a friend, Amy T. Meyer, who's on here. She's a veteran,
Okay.
who
Hey, Amy.
I met through the team, and she actually works in social work. And I don't even remember everything Amy does. She's an amazing person, and y'all need to meet. But first of all, she said, I'm going to read to you because this is longer, so I don't want to put it up. She says, one of my favorite quotes is Benjamin Disraeli. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. The
Benjamin,
greatest good you can do for another is not just share your riches, but reveal to them their own. This is also why volunteering, she says, this is also why and how volunteering is so key to our society's improvement and forward movement. Amy calls herself a volunteeraholic because she does so much. And then she said, this is something she wrote, reciprocity lessons for people has been my greatest experience of success. But then she has a question for you. She said that you shared about mentoring, and she wants to know, do you do other types of volunteering besides mentoring?
yeah, like I said, it's local groups, groups throughout that I deal with, especially when it comes to the kids. Actually, we're trying to, well, down where I live, we're trying to rally together now and
Mhm.
do like trash pickup, right now,
Yeah.
like VDOT and stuff like that because of
Well,
COVID.
and you know what?
Right.
That's awesome because it's teaching pride in community and taking ownership, even if it isn't your responsibility.
Not. And that's just, and that's one of the things that I really respect about you guys and what y'all doing with the racing team is because it's old school values,
Yeah.
right? That's why I said, like, when I seen, like, oh, she's a guerrilla marketer, I was like, that's, they'll say, oh, that's outdated. No, it's not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Really not. It is the most effective. So yeah, we definitely get out in the community. Matter of fact, I have one of my constituents has what is called signing day coming up, and where we're taking the youth and we're opening up junior accounts for them and showing them financial
Oh
literacy.
my God, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Amy works for a credit union. Oh my
really.
gosh, Amy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that is such a
Yeah,
cool
that's
idea.
coming up April the 2nd. April the 2nd. I'll tag you guys and so y'all can see what we're doing with that, man. But yeah, those are the type of things that we're doing, throughout the community,
Mhm.
just trying to teach financial literacy and trying to
Love that.
right, because being around so many men for so long, um, I love the children. I have small children, but but I say this: just the logical part is, if I'm teaching children, certain things, but the home, the mother or the father isn't intact, then it's
Mhm.
going to be ripped to shreds when they go in the home.
Right.
I
Yeah.
deal with a lot of the parents and a
Mhm.
lot of the men and just teach, manly qualities of, okay, this is how, you can do so on and so forth. So yeah, we love doing stuff with them.
Amy says, let her know she could do a Zoom class. Like,
Absolutely.
'cause she's in Washington State.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and you know, the thing about prison, I was going to tell you, Steve Sims, the guy that wrote Blue Fishing, he, every few months, he lives in California and LA, and every few months he goes into prison. Can't remember which prison, but he takes other entrepreneurs like me. I've not been able to go just because every time he's gone, it's been at a time it either didn't fit in or I didn't have the money, to fly across the country and go. But he takes entrepreneurs in and they spend a whole day in a maximum security prison
Wow.
teaching inmates how to be entrepreneurs. And it is so cool.
Wow.
I'll have to let you know about that because that's
Yeah.
something that you might want to. And
a-
it's actually, I think it's a nonprofit that he partners with to do
Right.
it. I
Right.
just can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll let you know about that. I've
Absolutely.
had you way over how long. I feel like you and I could talk all night though,
I
Shawn.
mean, honestly, I definitely I cleared my schedule for you because I appreciate the recognition and having me on because I always say collaboration is better than competition.
Yeah.
Always better than competition, and we're put here to try to just help one another. So any way that I can help, and I know you guys feel the same way. I seeing
Yeah. I
y'all.
think Amy said Defy. I think that's the name of the nonprofit. I think she was telling me.
Okay,
I think that's the name of it, but I'll check and make sure. Hang on because once I end the broadcast,
okay,
we'll still be in the broadcast studio
okay,
and we can talk for a minute. But
okay.
I want to thank all of y'all who joined us, whether you're joining us live, whether you're watching it recorded. Thanks for joining us. And I
Thank
hope
you.
that y'all learned something from Shawn's amazing life story and just all the things that he's accomplished and mostly all the things that he's doing to help other people. So I will see y'all next Tuesday. I can't remember who my guest is, so I'm not going to even say, but I'll see you next Tuesday for the Disrupt Your Now show. Thanks, y'all.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.